In romantic literature, the most important genre is poetry. Even we can say romantic literature means romantic poetry. And romantic poetry is known for these poets: John Keats, P.B. Shelley, Lord Byron, William Blake, William Wordsworth, S.T. Coleridge, Robert Frost, Southey, and they are distributed in two groups. One is called senior romantic poets and other is called young romantic poets. Senior romantic poets are Wordsworth, Coleridge, Robert Frost, and young romantic poets Byron, Keats, Shelley. So first, William Blake, who is called forerunner of romantic poetry or father of romantic poetry. William Blake was a poet and engraver. If you see his poetry or collection of his poetry on one page, his poem is seen on the other page, there is an illustration of that poem. And that illustration is actually engraving, which he himself composed. Sometime even he first made engraving and later on wrote poems. Blake wrote, "Without contraries is no progression," and much of his poetry illustrates this, mean two sides. Comparison. You can remember from the title of his book, Songs of Innocence and Experience. So innocence is contrasted with experience. The marriage of heaven and hell, opposites. Blake makes extensive use of symbolism in his poetry. Some of the symbols are straightforward. Innocence is symbolized by children, flowers, lamps, or particular seasons. Innocence is also symbolized by Jesus Christ and Lamb. Oppression and rationalism are symbolized by urban, industrial landscape, by machines, and by authority like authority of priest, king, and others, and by social institution. But sometimes his symbols are, you can say, difficult to understand. They have roots in myth. Tiger and lamb are two significant symbols which are seen in his songs. Images of childhood have central place in Blake's poetry, as they do in the work of many romantic poets like Wordsworth. Blake's most famous collection of poetry, Songs of Innocence and Experience. First, it was published separately in 1789, Songs of Innocence, and 1793, Songs of Experience. And then it was published together in 1794 with the title Songs of Innocence and Experience. That's the book which is mostly included in university syllabus. Good example is Blake's poem, The Chimney Sweeper. And we can see that poem is in both parts, Songs of Innocence and Songs of Experience. Child in Blake's poetry stands for poet's dissatisfaction with society and for his belief in the power of uncorrupted feeling and pure imagination. And child stands for pure feeling, pure imagination that is not yet corrupted. So the images of childhood, Blake dramatizes the conflict between nature and order, between natural innocence and the pressures of social experience. In his book, Songs of Innocence and Experience, several poems are written in pairs. These poems contrast states of human innocence and state of human experience. William Blake reveals a profound understanding of psychology and an ability to explore the spiritual side of human existence, both of which are remarkably modern. Blake was also conscious of the effects on the individual of a rapidly developing industrial and commercial world. He saw the potential dangers of massive society in which individuals were increasingly controlled by systems of organization. And he was actually expressing the individual voice against repression of these institutionalization and that system. There are some similarities between Blake's poetry and poetry of William Wordsworth, particularly his emphasis on the value of childhood experience and its celebration of nature. I mean, both poets celebrate nature, both poets celebrate childhood experience. Central to Wordsworth's vision of nature is the importance of the impact and influence of nature on human mind. Wordsworth ये समझता है कि जो नेचर है वो इंसान को प्योर रखती है, उसको डिलाइट या खुशी देती है, उसको इंस्ट्रक्ट करती है यानी सिखाती है, और उसको उस पर अल्टीमेट ट्रूथ यानी कि जो अल्टीमेट नेचर है या जिसे हम रिलीजन में गॉड कहते हैं उस तक इंसान को पहुंचाती है. Wordsworth's poetry is empirical. He records the evidence of his senses looking inward rather than outward. He describes the world of nature and of the characters who inhabit the natural landscape. Wordsworth gives detailed accounts of the lives of ordinary people in poems such as The Old Cumberland Beggar and The Leech Gatherer. That is the idea of Wordsworth poetry, that common people are closer to nature. Common people represent truth. Common people are away from affectation of city. And city seems corrupted to Wordsworth. So in his long poem, The Prelude, he goes towards nature. Wordsworth celebrates the spirit of man living in harmony with his natural environment and away from the corrupt city. The essence of his poetry lies not in the description of this world of nature, but in development of the inner mind, which records this world. तो वर्ड्सवर्थ के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट चीज जो है वो नेचर का माइंड पर इन्फ्लुएंस है, और उसके लिए वो समझता है कि इंसान को नेचर की कंपनी में रहना चाहिए. खुद वो लेक डिस्ट्रिक्ट में रहता था, वो खुद एक नेचुरल ब्यूटीफुल साइट है. उसके अलावा उसकी पोइट्री में आप कभी रिवर टेम्स, कभी टेंटन एबी और का जिक्र जो है वो पढ़ते हैं, जो कि एक माउंटेन है. तो वर्ड्सवर्थ long autobiographical poem, The Prelude, that is also in 12 volumes. The main concern is the psychology of the individual. Prelude का जो असल टॉपिक है वो है psychology of the individual. Such an emphasis on the formation of individual sensibility has since become a major characteristic of Western literature. Formation of individual sensibility, and to make that individual sensibility, again there is a journey from artificial city life to natural landscape, where the poet recollects his childhood memories and traces the sources of beauty and delight. One of its original title was A Poem on the Growth of an Individual Mind. ये MCQs के लिए भी significant point है कि once title of this work was Poem on the Growth of an Individual Mind, but its final title was The Prelude. Prelude has two editions. First edition was published in 1805 and final edition in 1850 after many corrections. It is characteristic of the Romantic period that its major epic poem should be about this subject. I mean, instead of warriors, war heroes, there should be a long narrative poem, but it should not be about heroic deed. We can say that is an epic because of narrative, because of grand style, but it's not about any hero or hero's discoveries. It's about individual sensibility. It is about the growth of individual. In many parts of the prelude and in poems such as Tintern Abbey and his ode Intimations of Immortality, Wordsworth records the personal search for the moments of insight and understanding which he believed only nature could provide. यानी वर्ड्सवर्थ जो है मिस्टिक की तरह जो है वो जिंदगी का राज तलाश करता है और ये समझता है कि ये राज जो है इंसान को रिफ्लेक्शंस दे सकती हैं, नेचर दे सकती है. Time and the passing of the time become recurring themes as 5 years have passed in Tintern Abbey, where memory of the past together with the effects of nature allows the poetic eye to see into the heart of things. So time, how much time has passed? आप वर्ड्सवर्थ की लिरिक्स डैफोडिल्स को अगर याद करें तो his heart is filled with joy whenever he recalls the event of seeing daffodils. So not nature gives delight when someone is in the company of nature, even nature makes a memory, and later on when someone recalls it, it pleases him. So memory, time, construction of memory, and effects of a human memory, they are discussed in Wordsworth's poetry. He believed in the truth of his own senses and imagination, and he sometimes describes moments in which he perceives mystical transcendental truth. That's the transcendental truth, which is sometimes called pantheism in his poetry. Throughout his poetic career, Wordsworth continued to regard the child as the single most important source of wisdom and truth, very like William Blake. In his ode, Intimations of Immortality, the child as a symbol of all that is holy and good is directly addressed. Thou best philosopher who yet dost keep the heritage, thou eye among the blind, that deaf and silent reads the eternal deep, haunted forever by the eternal mind. So that's the greatness of the child which he expresses in his ode Intimations of Immortality. Child is seen here as father of man, although lines such as these do not strictly adhere to Wordsworth's poetic principles of simple and unadorned language. Many of his poems do create a new poetic language. Wordsworth actually advocated simple language in lyrical ballad, but many critics, many poets have an objection that Wordsworth didn't remain strict to that principle himself. जो उसने कहा है खुद उसके ऊपर वो ज्यादा उसने अमल नहीं किया. प्रेफेस टू लिरिकल बैलेड में तो वर्ड्सवर्थ ने यहाँ तक कह दिया था कि जो ये जो रस्टिक पीपल हैं, कॉमन पीपल हैं, इनकी लैंग्वेज है वो नेचुरल लैंग्वेज और पोइट्री की लैंग्वेज भी नेचुरल है. और इसका मतलब ये था कि वो जितनी भी आप लिटरेरी डिवाइसेस यूज करके कोई पोइट्री बनाते हैं वो आर्टिफिशियल होती है और वो जो है वो नेचुरल नहीं रहती और उसकी वैल्यू नहीं. फिर यहाँ तक कुछ क्लेम्स वर्ड्सवर्थ के इतने क्या कह सकते हैं एग्जैजरेटेड थे. उसने कहा कि इवन प्रोज और पोइट्री में भी कोई फर्क नहीं होता. पोइट्री की जो डेफिनेशन वर्ड्सवर्थ ने की, पोइट्री इज spontaneous overflow of powerful feeling recollected in tranquility. Poetry is spontaneous overflow of powerful feeling recollected in tranquility. तो पोइट्री के हवाले से ये कि एक तो ये स्पॉन्टेनियस होनी चाहिए, इसमें ओवरफ्लो ऑफ पावरफुल फीलिंग्स होना चाहिए, और ये पावरफुल फीलिंग्स वो हों जिसको हम रिकलेक्ट कर सकें ट्रैंक्विलिटी। तो ये मतलब इसमें कहीं राइम की, मीटर की बात नहीं की गई। तो जब उससे कहा गया कि राइम और मीटर जरूर, इसने का कोई जरूरत नहीं, सारी प्रोस भी जो है वो पोइट्री हो सकती। और उसकी इंतहा ये थी कि ये भी कह दिया कि साइंस और टेक्नोलॉजी की लैंग्वेज भी पोइट्री है। यानी सिर्फ ये यही नहीं कि अगर आप कोई नॉवल लिखते हैं तो वो पोइट्री होगा, बल्कि अगर आपने क्वांटम फिजिक्स की कोई किताब लिखी है तो वो भी पोइट्री है, अगर उसके अंदर ये वाली कंडीशन जो है वो फुलफिल होती है जो अभी जो है बात कर। एंड he believes in direct, straightforward, natural language of common people, laymen, especially living in rural setting, natural landscape, countryside, and these are the people, it is thought, whose language is poor, but he believes that their language is poetic. 2 अप्रैल मॉर्निंग, वी आर 7, टू द कुकू, ये वर्ड्सवर्थ की पोइम्स हैं और इसमें आप इस लैंग्वेज की रिफ्लेक्शन भी देख सकते हैं। बट वर्ड्सवर्थ के इस आइडिया को एक तो कॉलरिज ने उस वक्त ही चैलेंज कर दिया था, और खुद वर्ड्सवर्थ की पोइट्री में ये कंटिन्यू नहीं रह सका। वर्ड्सवर्थ क्लेम टू राइट पोइट्री इन दैट स्टाइल, बट ही कुडंट डू सो। Wordsworth did not achieve his aim of writing poetry according to manifesto in the preface to lyrical ballad. Sometimes it is direct, simple and close to ordinary spoken language. जैसा उसने claim किया था कि poetic language should be direct, simple, close to ordinary spoken language. A slumber did my spirit sail, I had no human fears. She seemed a thing that could not feel the touch of earthly years. Sometimes he uses more complex grammar and vocabulary, as we can see from the above example. Words like heritage and deeply interfused, and the long sentences uh, with several clauses in them seem a long way from his poetic ideals. यानी जो खुद डायरेक्ट, सिंपल, ऑर्डिनरी स्पोकन लैंग्वेज की बात की थी, वो आइडियल जो है वो वर्ड्सवर्थ की पोइट्री में रिटेन नहीं रह सका। वर्ड्सवर्थ सर्च टू record the insights of imagination, and the power of human memory could not always be sustained. Imagination fails, memories fade, shine brightly, and then fade again. Wordsworth revised the prelude throughout his life. In each version, he tries to capture more accurately the lasting insights of his past. इसको भी बहुत सारे लोग ऑब्जेक्शन करते हैं कि ये जो रिवीजन है ये फिर स्पॉन्टेनियस नहीं रहता। रिवीजन की का तो मतलब है कि आप नया नया जो वर्जन लेके आते हैं तो यू ट्राई टू इम्प्रूव, and that is a well thought rather than spontaneous work. But later drafts lack the excitement of earlier versions of Wordsworth's poem. It is also possible that the failure of French Revolution affected the course of Wordsworth's own poetry and life. Wordsworth was an ardent supporter of French Revolution, but he was disillusioned after French Revolution, when French Revolution uh, became, you can say, very vindictive and totalitarian. In the formative stage of his poetic career, Wordsworth collaborated with S.T. Coleridge. Both contributed to lyrical ballad, but Wordsworth alone was responsible for the preface because it was not owned by Coleridge. Preface is not only a preface, that's the manifesto for romantic poetry, that's the manifesto for new type of poetry. Wordsworth is part of your syllabus, you can say in compulsory English sometime and BA English literature. Um, his poems Poor Susan and Ode to Intimation and Immortality are included. Lines written on Tintern Abbey is there. His masterpiece is the Prelude, but no one can afford to skip Wordsworth and his poetic ideals. Also focused on Preface to Lyrical Ballad, that is actually the work of criticism, and it will be discussed when we will discuss criticism.